If you're like me, you probably already have at least one or two methods for creating a beat. My go-to drum computer is Superior Drummer 3, and I consider it the gold standard. I mean, it's seriously better than my real drummer, and Clint is most excellent. I've also got a couple of other UVI instruments, and Chakra and Borsta, which both sound great and are easy to use, so I probably don't need much more in the percussion department. In fact, when UVI dropped Percussion Factory a couple of weeks ago, it was pretty much a hard pass for me. Then I saw this. And thus we're going to review Percussion Factory.
Shut up and take my money!
UVI put together a pretty clean and easy to use interface. The color coding on the piano roll is nice, and they match up with the one-shots here. Full sequences of individual instruments are here, or just hit one key to play the full track here. There are 3 main pages, with most of the heavy hitting going on in the edit page. Here you can adjust your sequence, length, volume, and panning, play with the amp and filters, and go into the effects for each layer. If you want to change the sample, just click on any of the labels and it will open up the percussion selection menu. Finally, the FX section lets you adjust 5 different master effects. A couple of things that might not be obvious are the MIDI features here, where you can copy out the current MIDI roll and then drag and drop this into your DAW. The other feature here is the multi-out switch, which will either sum your outputs or place them to individual channels. There is really no need for a manual, as everything is pretty intuitive, although there is a small amount of menu diving required. One thing that would have been super cool is the ability to turn beats on and off by clicking on the circles, or adjusting the volume of a beat by clicking and dragging up and down, or adding the Shift plus mouse to change the number of beats in the sequence. This might be pretty intense to program though. It's a very solid interface and easy to figure out, so I'm giving Factory an 18 out of 20. UVI products usually have a pretty good price to content ratio in my opinion. A few products, like Vintage Vault, have an insanely good price to content ratio. In fact, sometimes I wonder if UVI is trying to compete with McDonald's and enter into the billions served category. Maybe they secretly have some guy locked up in the back room keeping track.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
Percussion Factory is no exception to this rule. For $149, regular price, you get 550 presets. That's a huge amount. In fact, let me just scroll through them for you. I mean, seriously, if you want to listen to just each one for 10 seconds, that would be over 90 straight minutes of listening.
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
Al Pacino is right. If the number of presets isn't good enough for you, let's take a look at the instruments section. There are 76 percussion instruments. That's fairly impressive, and you're essentially paying about $2 an instrument for a pretty wide range of shakers, hand drums, and other assorted goodies. Not bad considering I paid about $40 for this didgeridoo, and it doesn't even sound that great. If that's not enough to impress you, let's look at the total number of samples. It's over 8,500. And if you get bored with that content and want to jazz up a particular sequence, just go to the swing tab here, and you've got 9 different groove patterns to swing to. That's pretty cool. Let's look at the effects briefly also, because that classifies as content in my book. I got tired of counting the number of reverb models in the effects section, but it's well over 500.
The world is not enough.
I know, the world is just not enough. So UVI went and made this thing totally open-ended by allowing you to drag and drop your own samples in, and it's super easy. I've had issues with some other VSTs where the drag and drop feature doesn't work all that well. Not here. Just pull in any WAV file and drop it into whichever slot you want, and bam, even more flexibility. I think I may have several drum sample CDs from the 90s that I now need to resurrect. You're probably thinking that I will be stopping sometime soon and go on to the next category. Well, no, because there is one more feature that makes this thing almost endless, and that is this little magic wand here. Just one press of the button and voila! Free pattern number 46,834. Now, not all of these are going to be winners, like the one I just showed off in the opening sequence, but it usually doesn't take long to find something pretty decent, and this is a great way to get inspiration. That is a really absurd amount of stuff for a $150 VST. So for all this content, I'm giving Percussion Factory a 20 out of 20. If there is one area where UVI definitely shines, it's in the sound quality department. What impresses me about Percussion Factory is just how natural this sounds. Glorious conga player is not too far off the mark. There was another similar drum VST that came out late last year, I think called Beat Scholar, that also had a pie-shaped type sequencer and looked kind of cool. Jordan Rudess even endorses it. But to me, it's a bit too robotic. That's okay for some genres. Percussion Factory, though, is at the complete opposite end of the spectrum and sounds very natural. I looked to see if there was some sort of humanizer function to this and could not find anything that stood out except for this random cutoff script that does seem to be doing just that. This can be dialed into each individual layer under the sound section. The effects and large number of included reverbs are all top shelf stuff. Here are a couple of examples. This is about as good as it gets in my book. Sound quality gets a 20 out of 20. Remember that little magic wand that I showed off a minute ago? Well, there are 16 more of them in here. If you go to the Edit tab, each sequencer has a wand, so you can select individual instruments to adjust. Each instrument also has another randomizer feature here, where you can change up the selected sound. And if you specifically like a particular sound in sequence, you can lock it and then hit the main wand to change everything else. This is about as instant gratification as you can get. And if you're like me, then you will either spend hours perfecting a beat, or hit the button once and get a new song idea. And then you don't even really get to use it at all. Why did I buy this thing exactly? If you have the full version of Falcon, that just blows the doors wide open on what you can do, because you'll have a near endless supply of effects, envelopes, and LFOs to choose from. Here are just a couple of examples of what is possible. For innovation and inspiration, Percussion Factory gets a score of 20 out of 20. For sound design features, Percussion Factory has a couple of tricks up its sleeve. The first is the intensity knob here. With this, you can adjust how hard the player is striking the instrument. The knob to the right is called Decimate, and when you dial this down, it slowly removes hits from the sequence. If you want to humanize things even more, you can also add LFOs or draw envelopes into your DAW with these two features, so that this doesn't just sound like a 4 or 8 bar loop. That's a pretty nice feature. Another cool thing is the ability to divide a hit very easily by just going to the sequencer and changing the division tab for each hit, and being able to just drag your mouse across the gate feature to get some more random goodness is super powerful. Add to that 4 insert effects for each layer, and you can make this turn into this. So even if you don't have Falcon, it's pretty powerful. If you add Falcon into the mix, you get a whole nother ball game. But since Falcon is a separate instrument, I'm going to rate this without any of those extra features. One thing that might be nice to add is the ability to link FX between instruments if, for instance, you want to use the same amount of drive across all 8 layers. All of these features make this a pretty robust instrument for sound design, so Percussion Factory gets a decent 17 out of 20. So this was kind of an impulse buy for me, as I didn't initially plan on purchasing it when I first saw it. But after watching Cameron and Simeon, the absolute power in this package was pretty clear, and I'm not at all sorry that I bought it. In fact, I think along with Superior Drummer 3, it is going to be used quite a bit in this studio. I'll probably still use Chakra and Borsta, as they have their place, but with the drag and drop, the power of Falcon, and a number of magic wands that would make Harry Potter jealous, this thing is sure to get used a lot. Other than the couple of really cool main menu hacks that would be pretty sweet, and maybe some LFOs for the intensity and a humanized dial, I can't find much to really improve here. I would love to see sound packs for this instrument in the future, as it will only make it even more powerful. and I'm probably going to need to find some time to set up my own sampled drum kits. All of this makes Percussion Factory pretty exciting, and I'm giving it a final score of 95 out of 100. This is impressive, and it puts it in the must-buy category. If you are new to the channel, know that my scoring system is considerably more stringent than many magazine reviewers, and a 95 is one of the highest scores we've given out so far. So thank you for watching, and I hope that this has helped you make a decision on if this is a good purchase for your needs. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe to keep up to date on our latest reviews and tips and free patch libraries. Have a great day, and we will see you on the other side of the mountain.